Okay. Thanks, Amelia, and all the organizers for inviting me to share a little bit about the work we're doing at Pairwise. Amelia reached out and asked if I could talk about the genomics and share a little bit about the Pairwise story. So this talk is going to be a little bit different from what you've been hearing so far. We'll talk a little bit about the mission of Pairwise, what the challenges are, and based on those challenges and the solution, like what is pairwise data science and genomic strategy? So a bit about myself. I consider myself a synthetic biologist. My undergrad is focused on biological engineering. I did my PhD in computer science, but applied that to biological problems. Also computational biology. Um, uh, but my previous gig at a startup experience is to work at grassroots biotech, where we worked on machine learning approaches to design DNA sequences that will control genes and traits. We sold that to Monsanto, which is a large multinational, which is now Bayer. And I decided to, about 3 years ago, to work at Pairwise and go back to the startup experience. Um, I currently lead data science and genomics efforts at Pairwise. Okay, Pairwise is a mission-driven food technology company based in North Carolina. And really the mission of the company is to just simply get people to eat more fruits and vegetables. And the approach is of trying to use technology to break down those barriers to eating, the fresh produce. So if you think about it, there's lots of challenges to like healthy eating. And what's surprising is that like every one of us know what being healthy is, right? We just got to eat our recommended dose of portion of fruits and vegetables. But what's surprising is that only 10% of Americans eat the recommended amount of fruits and vegetables. And this percentage is similar in many different countries. Talk a little bit about the Pairwise, the founders, the founding story. The company was started in 2018. On the left, you have Tom and Haven, who are industry leaders who have the experience to do product development and launching products. On the right, we have our three scientific co-founders from Harvard and MIT, who are preeminent leaders in the field of gene editing. And I'll talk about gene editing a little bit later. We have a relationship with Bayer Crop Science, where we work on row crops, corn, soy, canola, wheat, cotton, that really helped us build our platform, our industry-leading platform for gene editing. Um, we also have a really good investors to back us. So let's talk about the challenge of healthy eating. So the way we eat today has changed. Um, like back in the day, we had this structure of having the family sitting down at the table and eating. And today, the statistics show that only 10% of families do that right now. And we Americans now we snack more frequently, and because we're always on the go, we want convenient food options. And greater than 90% of Americans actually snack daily. But if you think about snacks, they're all primarily processed foods. And that's really who we're competing with. The processed foods has seen significant innovation. They're convenient, delicious, and the stuff that we're supposed to eat to be healthy, the fresh fruits and vegetables, we haven't seen much innovation in that space. So if you look at the picture on the left bottom here, it's a picture of the grocery aisle in the 1960s. And we pretty much see the same thing today as well. There's not much innovation in that space. Only 3% of the innovation has been there in the produce aisle in the last several decades. Um, One example of such innovation that we've seen is the Easy Peel seedless mandarin. This was launched around the early 2010, and what we've seen is that the citrus industry was actually on the decline, but because of this Easy Peel seedless mandarin, the sales of citrus went up 30%, and so the Americans started consuming more oranges as a result of this innovation. This is primarily a genetic innovation here. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to do here at Pairwise as well. So Pairwise works in both row crops. Share with you our Bayer collaboration. It's a primary focus on sustainability, and on the right here is our collaboration in consumer crops, where we are trying to we're trying to bring those healthy fruits and vegetables and make them better and make them more available for people. Um, like thinking about that consumer crop portfolio, what we're trying to do here is to bring things like seedless oranges. So we're trying to increase convenience. If you think about like shelf life as a possible trait, if you make a bag of like cherries or berries be available, have a longer shelf life, then it might make it much more. It can compete with a bag of potato chips that actually lasts a little bit longer. The other thing that we're trying to do is to make them available year round. Cherries are available only for a few months every year, but if you're available year round, then people would consume more cherries. And finally, we also want to try and do this in a way that'll bring a positive carbon impact. So the question we're asking is like, what if fruits and vegetables fit into people's life in a new way? Let's say if you have we have a lot of leafy green options today, but many of them actually lack the nutrition, such as kale. Kale has high amounts of nutrition, but if you think about romaine lettuce, which is present in lots of salads and burgers. It does not have the nutrition, the antioxidants like kale has. So imagine bringing several of those new leafy greens that's made more available. Imagine cherries that are pitless, and imagine seedless blackberries that make it easy to snack on. Um, and what we're trying to do, and this is an important slide that I'm getting to the data science part, is this is our approach. And and on the next slide, I'll talk about like what should the data science strategy be in order to get to this approach of pairwise. So what we're doing on the left is primarily on the R&D side with getting the right genetics and the growing of crops. And on the right, we're trying to get pairwise branded produce available to consumers. So our customer is not the farmer. Our customer is the consumers, the kids and the adults and the people who would consume our produce. And so the question I asked was, what should the data science strategy be in order to accomplish this? So uh, some of the things that I thought about was we first need lots of novel IP. We got to protect the way we do our things. Once you build out the platform of the different tools, we need to be able to have the freedom to operate and do this in a way that will protect our work. Um, the next thing we want to do is allow Pairwise to do more without adding significant additional FTE. We're going to be doing lots of things, lots of repetitive things. So how do we leverage automation, robotics to try and make that work easier? We said we need to get pairwise knowledge should live in systems and processes. So we need to try and create a digital version of the pipeline and the workflows of all the things that we're trying to do, so we can start to do interesting modeling and scheduling and so on. And finally, it's one of our values to be a very product focused and outcomes focused. So there are several platforms that we can build, and building a very good gene editing platform is very important. But the focus is not the platform, the focus is the products. So we make sure that all the different things that we're doing it in a way that will actually ultimately lead to a great product. And products is really what pairwise is selling in the end. So having that strategic alignment with product and platform is a critical thing, and helps us with prioritization and so on. Okay, getting into genomics a little bit. So some of you may have heard about AlphaFold. It's basically an algorithm that was created by DeepMind, a subsidiary of Google. What they did was to create a predictive model of protein folding. Basically, proteins are amino acid sequences that are strung together, and they form different shapes, and that's what gives them the function that leads to the different things that you see, like eye color or the different traits. That's really what is a foundation for many of the structure and the color and the traits that you're seeing. So the what DeepMind was able to do is uh, do a really good job of trying to say, he given a sequence, it's just read a string of sequences, and they were able to predict what the structure is going to be. There's a huge amount of training data sets, but this has been one unsolved problem that you can't immediately do computationally. We have to do lots of experiments. It takes years to finally get to a right structure. And at a recent protein folding competition, the AlphaFold algorithm, specifically AlphaFold 2, had got the first place. Well, they're not 100% accurate. They have ways to go. They still did a pretty good job, and now they're pretty much most of life sciences and healthcare industries, can leverage this to improve on designing new medicines, identifying new drugs, and really can help with the ag space as well. 23andMe is another company that's been leveraging genetic information to say what are the susceptibility to different kinds of diseases. And Grail can actually do an early detection of cancer. They just take a little bit of your blood, and then they're able to say what is the probability that you might have a certain amount of cancer. And the one of their flagship tests called Gallery has been approved in many different countries and states in the United States. So the point I'm trying to make is that when you combine this genomic information with the machine learning models that all of these different companies are leveraging, it leads to lots of novel discovery platforms that is really changing the way we do life sciences. So the foundation for all of this is the genome. You may have heard a lot about this. Some of you are working in this space. Is really we need to understand what the language of life is. When you look at this large piece of A's, G's, T's, and C's, what we're simply trying to do is understand what are the commas, what are all the periods, what is the grammar that's happening here? Is there sarcasm here? What is the sentiment in this sentence? And so we're really trying to look at this and try to decipher, decode basically what this is saying and how this leads to some of the different traits that we're seeing in plants. Traits such as yield, shelf life, many different things that both plants um, and um, and animals and humans really share. And this really is something that drives me, and has been driven in my interest in the space is really driven by cracking this code. So what we did for genomics for Pairwise is we've built these learn, design, test platforms to simply do three things: what to edit, how to edit, and how to deliver the edit. Now, I won't go into details for this audience, but really, we're trying to create something like a Microsoft Word where you can go in and make changes easily, small changes, and we're able to say what changes we need to make so that'll actually lead to the trait. And finally, we need to be able to deliver that edit as well. In the end, the plants should take up the edit in a way that they can be heritable. It becomes part of their new genome. So for the learn part, especially in the space of what to edit, the way we're doing this is simply to understand nature. We are doing this interesting public-private partnership to do a very interesting project where we're collecting many different species of caneberries, thimbleberries, blackberries, black raspberries, salmon berries, all the different kinds of berries. I mean, we have here 400 different berries that are grown, that are all different species and completely in nature from all around the world. And then we're trying to understand these, trying to understand what is their genomic sequence, and trying to also do the phenotyping or measure what the different traits are for each of these plants. So we have enormous amount of work that we need to do here in order to simply understand what is nature already figured out, and how do we learn from that so we can say, I need to put this edit in this plant, and so I can get the trait that I want. And that's all the CRISPR as a technology lets you do. It makes it a lot faster for us to get to the edit that we want. Um, so, in order to build a model to connect the genomics to the traits, even before that, once you collect all these different images, we have to try and estimate what those traits are. So the team has built lots of different automation carts and collected lots of images so we can say what is the size of the berry, what are the number of drupelets in the berry, and build lots of models to say when does the plant flower, and so on, to basically crunch this massive data set. We're collecting over 1,000 images per day, and all of these are sent to our pairwise data systems, and we are analyzing the data in real time so we can start to make those connections. I've shared an example of berries, but we're also doing projects in the leafy green space and in the cherry space and so on, just to understand the natural diversity in this different nutritious, healthy thing that nature's already provided. All of this data, like I said earlier, is stored in data systems, and we use Benchling, which is basically our LIMS, a laboratory information management system, to store all this data in a very, very structured way. We have heard lots about the talks today to how important it is to store structured data, and that really is giving us a competitive advantage of storing all this data so we can easily make the reports, make the advancement decisions that we need to make, and be really efficient as a company. Some of the other things that we're trying to do is, as you saw earlier in Brian Nick's talk, where he talked about how its executives should be very careful and build their performance KPIs so they can always be ahead of the game. We're doing all of that. We're building out the pipelines in a way and we're measuring every step of the way, where we can look at performance, we can do scenario modeling, and we're trying to do things like automated scheduling, where it says this is what every team should be doing at any given point of time. So it allows people to start doing the more creative tasks of saying, what if we do something different? What if we were able to accommodate this as well? And really let computers handle the rest. One of the other things we're doing is leverage climate modeling, where it helps us figure out where we should be growing so we can achieve year-round production. We integrate lots of different weather data, the agronomic information, and say this plant will grow well in these areas, and use that to narrow down and build our farmer relationships. Because really, we need those to grow all of the different products in the United States and in other parts of the world as well, so we can get to the year-round production that we're shooting for. So, I'll just quickly end with, the results of our data science strategy. I mean, what we've done is we've done a really good job in delivering on the Bayer collaboration, where we've been ahead of the time because of our principled way of organizing and strategic alignment. And we're launching two products, next year. We're to launch a product from zero to launch in less than 5 years is pretty incredible. I've worked at the ag industry before, and and we're not stopping at the farmer. Remember, we're going all the way to the consumer, and so we're seeing several different problems, and we're solving one problem after another, and really leveraging both data science and genomics together. Um, and I will end with that and take any questions if there are. Thank you.